We continue series of video reviews which I started about 2-3 weeks ago. So far this new series proved to be a very successful endeavor. I published the Pacific War review, the video review, and then Imperial Struggle review. Both were received very well and very nicely. So I believe this new format, which I'm now publishing on my blog, is the right one, and I will be continuing. Of course, you can still count on my regular first look at, so unboxing and overview materials, as well example of plays or teach and play. However, I believe also sharing my experiences, sharing my reviews, sharing my opinion about games could be very, very useful for you. So without further ado and without further delay, we jump to another game today. Today we'll talk about the Pavlov's house. I must say that I very much appreciate and like the Valiant Defense series of board games created by Dan Versen Games, DVG, where the main author, main designer is David Thompson. Today I would like to present the second installment in the series, namely Pavlov's House. First of all, a brief historical introduction. Pavlov's house was a fortified apartment building, and it was used as a strong point by the Soviet 62nd Army during the Battle of Stalingrad, so pivotal battle of World War II. Soviet defenders held out for almost 2 months from the constant German assaults. The building's name was drawn from Yakov Pavlov, a sergeant who led the initial storm, and that resulted in the capture of the building from the Germans. The story of Pavlov's house, of course, was a key piece of Soviet propaganda and was used as a symbol of the incredible resistance and resilience of the Soviet forces during the Battle of Stalingrad. As far as the game is concerned, in Pavlov's house, which is a solitary one-player game, we take control of the brave defenders, of course, of the Soviet stronghold in Stalingrad, as they will be holding against constant German attacks for almost 2 months. However, we also control the key leaders throughout this Soviet 62nd Army that made the defense of Pavlov's house possible. So not only the house itself, but surroundings and the strategic level too. What is the goal of Pavlov's house? Is to simply last through all the German attack waves, inflicting in the process as many casualties on attackers as possible. In the game, this is depicted by playing through a deck of cards representing elements of the German 6th Army, so Pavlov's army. The Pavlov's house map is divided in 3 key sections, and honestly, you have like 3 dimensions in this game and 3 sets of rules for each of those. You have strategic perspective, where you have Volga River and let's say operational level elements of Soviet 62nd Army. You have tactical perspective in the middle of the board. It is actually the 9th January square. And of course, operational perspective. This is on the left of the board. I will show it in a moment, where you can see inside of a Pavlov's house. So that's a brief introduction to the game. Let's jump now to the next section, which will be about components. Okay, so we talked about the idea for the series, we talked about the game in general. Now let's talk a bit about the components. This is not an unboxing video, so we'll not be going through everything in details, but it's worth mentioning what we have here. So this is the full set of beautiful components for the Pavlov's house. First of all, we have a sturdy box, very nice. I like it because it keeps all the stuff nicely inside. Then we have set of counters. I use Cube4Me storage solutions. Yeah, it works for me very well and really helps to keep everything in order. These are the markers you will be using on the map, like suppression, like disruption, like actions, of course some supplies like water, medicine, armor, mines. However, you have also a set of counters which will be used during the game. You will have a generic German counters, be it panzers, scouts, infantry. Yeah, you will see both of them, the strength of attack and strength of defense. In order to kill the scout, you need to roll 5 or more on the die. The Soviet units will not be anonymous. This will be the true people who are defending Pavlov's house, including Mr. Pavlov, who led the initial assault to bring this, to take it from the Germans. So for me, this is one of the really great ideas in this game, to make it more personal, to be closer to the guys who actually were defending this. Then we have a rule book, not overly long because this is not overly complex game, easily readable with nice, examples. And last but not least, we have also several player aids. These are really cool because they allow you pretty quickly understand what the German cards will mean, what the Soviet cards will give you, and what kind of actions you can take. It's really useful and it really helps during the game and playing the game. So this is a good set. As you can see, I'm uncovering the map with the process of showing you the components. Now let me show you the cards. You have several decks of cards. The two are main decks of cards. The cards for the Soviet player, some fog of wars and some actions, and the set of cards for the bot, so for the Germans. Yeah, and depending on the phase, it's different number. You will be going through all the phases and there will be some reset between the phases. And these are the mandatory sets of cards. There are two optional sets of cards. One is operational support, where you can discard some stuff to take it, and then you can attack, provided the paths leading to the Pavlov's house on the 9th January square are free of enemies. This is the strength, and this is victory points at the end of the game. And yeah, here you can you remove from the game and also can receive some nice stuff. So this is Storm Group, and I believe Storm Groups, and resupply will be inside the deck here, and those operational support will be simply getting rid of some resources and then scoring the points. Tactics cards, another great optional addition, because that helps you, to get some more, how to say, difficult, advanced, or challenging experience for the first phase, for the second phase, and so on for all the phases of assault. If you want a challenging experience, you use one tactic card. If you would like to have an extremely challenging experience, you can use two. Now, last but not least, we have a map, and this is really, really great what we see here, because Pavlov's house is like 3 games in one, 3 dimensions. You have strategic dimension, you have Volga River, you have the Stalingrad itself, and you have 62nd Army, Soviet Army, which is supplying, the Soviets in Stalingrad. You can see anti-air, this is artillery, this is of course a pontoon bridge. Here are, some radio telegraphists who are working on this, but here we have also the headquarters, and if the headquarters is hit twice, we lose the game. It's not so easy to hit it twice. You need to get 18 on 3 dice 2 times, so it's not so probable, but you need to be careful of this. This is kind of a tactical dimension. This is the 9th January square, Soviet square. This is the Pavlov's house, and this is Volga here, you can see. So Germans are approaching from various directions, and then they try to get into the house. Last but not least, you have here the operational, so the closest, dimension, where you have the interior of the house. And as you can see, you have different colors, which actually match those colors. So if they approach or fire, you can see those areas are within a line of sight of those units. Those will be attacking here, those will be attacking here. So this is a really cool way of playing this game. And actually, even when you play through the turn, you go from this side, so from the right, strategic, 3 cards for the Soviets. Then you go to the Germans, it's, I believe, 3 cards, German cards. And when you go here, you play 3 moves and 3 actions of the Soviet troops inside the house. So these are the components. Now another section which we would like to cover. It will be about players, complexity, playing time, and so on. After components, in my video reviews, I'm always talking about number of players, playtime, and complexity. So, first of all, number of players. This is a dedicated solo game, so the best way to play is, of course, 1 player versus AI. And it works perfectly. You know, you manage this on strategic level when you're being hit by the Germans here in this phase, and then on the operational level you move in the house. Very nicely done, as I said, pretty logical even on the map, going through your moves strategically, then the German moves on the tactical level, and to your moves on the operational level. However, that's not everything as far as the modes are concerned, because if you look into the variants, you would see that this game can be played also with 2 players or even 3 players. You can play 2 players, which will be cooperative. In this case, you will have 1 player playing the strategic dimension, the other player playing the operational dimension, and of course AI playing, you know, the Germans. I played this. It was quite okay. I believe a good introduction to the game. You can also play competitive with 2 players or 3 players. Competitive with 2 players is that 1 plays Soviets and the other is playing the Germans. Actually, he draws the German cards and chooses which to use. It could be very challenging for Soviet player. 3 players, it means that 1 player controls strategic dimension of Soviets, the other operational, and the 3rd player controls the Germans. It might be too much. However, competitive, I have not tried it, might be very, very interesting. Regarding the playtime, if you do not die before achieving victory, and I will tell you about victory in a moment, you will probably finish this game in 90 minutes. If you will be proficient, maybe 60 minutes. First attempt could be, you know, 2 hours here. A lot is added by these optional cards. For example, if you are using tactics, you will need to resolve them too additionally, or if you use operational support, you will also have some additional time spent on this. But all in all, it should never ever take you more than 2 hours. I would, you know, be inclined to say that 1 hour is much more probable. As far as the complexity is concerned, of course, the back of the game shows us the complexity. It does not. It explains the game mechanics. But for the complexity, I can say this is a good introductory game, introductory war game. I would not say this is easy. I would say this is, you know, approachable. Approachable. This is a good, probably English word. So there are rules. There is a set of rules, both for strategic, tactical, operational level. There are variants. There are additional cards. It makes like medium complexity game or light game, something between both. So if you are looking for a start with solo games, I would say Valiant Defense, and among them Pavlov's House, is a very good starting point. It's a very good starting point with war games, and especially if you would like to start with solitary games and you are thinking, okay, should I do it? Is it interesting? Will I manage? Yeah, so definitely this is cool. I told you about victory conditions. One way of the victory conditions is, of course, to survive all the attacks, and all the attacks will be all those German cards of attacks. You can, of course, lose the game earlier if your headquarters is hit twice, or if any unit here reaches the building. and enters this and storms this. It means that the defenders are being killed. Okay, let me move to the next section, the one you are waiting for. What I like in the game. This is probably the key part and key concept of every review video is what I personally subjectively like about this game and what I appreciate it for. First and foremost, this game has already some years since its edition. Still, its components are very nice and beautiful. I like the map. It's very readable. It's nice. It's clear, and it's a bit shiny. Yeah, that's true. Still very, very nice. I like the box, especially the cover. It's very, very thematic. Back is also fine. Yeah, it's very good. I already told you about the counters. I really appreciate that the Soviet counters have the true people with the true pictures on them. This is something which is really, really great. Of course, the Germans are much more anonymous. The cards are okay, and those as far as components are good. The Shilu heads, I believe they are better than the actual, colors on this. So all in all, first thing which I would like to appreciate is, of course, the components quality. Second thing, we have here a game with a designated solo mode. A lot of games in the years when Pavlov's House was first published were usually multiplayer game with a solo, variant. Nowadays, I believe it's 6 or 7 years already since it was published, there are so many solitary games that it's not, something I would say superb or new, that you have a solitary game dedicated to only solo mode. Before pandemic, I would say there were not so many. There were some, but not so many. So this is definitely a plus and positive. And the third thing, which is already connected with this, which I like, this is solitary mode, but it has also other modes. It has 2-player mode and 3-player mode. For the 3-player mode, I would not say this is the most exciting, but 2-player mode, especially competitive, can be very interesting in this game. So definitely a plus for me. What else I appreciate and what I like? This is the game in which you will be rolling the dice. Yeah. So you might say this is a random. For me, the random game is if you roll a dice, but roll this only a few times. You have quite a lot of rolling here. So let's say that evens out as far as the distribution of the rolls is concerned. So you might say that the luck factor is to somehow limited, and this is good. This is very, very good. Let's say this was 4th thing to achieve. The 5th thing, and this is superb, this is something fantastic, are the additional variants. I love tactics cards. And I also appreciate operational support. With tactics cards, you might feel, okay, I went through the game, I won. This is the amount of points I got, because you will be also having various dimensions of victory. And you feel, okay, what else? What now? Now you take the tactics and start to play on much harder level. I believe it happened once in my life that I managed to win it on elite level with 2 tactics cards every turn, but it was a crazy, crazy ride, and it was a very narrow victory. So those additional modes, optional variants, are great and are cool. So another thing to give a thumbs up. Definitely, to sum up, you have a feeling of being under constant siege, under a huge pressure, and defending against it gives a lot of satisfaction. And because this is so logically put on the map, the turn is simply written on the map. The strategic dimension, the tactical dimension, so this is your free cards, then German free cards, then your free moves and free actions. Really, really appreciate even how it's depicted on the map. So these are the things which I like about the game, appreciate, and really gives a thumbs up for it. Okay, very briefly now about what maybe I do not like in this game, or I would like to see a bit improved. One thing is, I'm not sure if it's actually negative thing to say. It's sometimes this game felt for me a bit too easy. Okay, I played a lot of war games, I played a lot of solitary games, and this is definitely one of the lighter ones, introductory. So sometimes there was situations where I thought, okay, I have everything under control, there is not much happening. Hopefully you remember that I talked about tactics cards, and that is why I love so much this idea, because it increases difficulty and it makes the game more interesting for me personally. But for the vanilla version, I played several times and somehow managed to find a way out of it pretty quickly, stabilize the situation, invest into the proper things. Or maybe this was the key to success, and it was a bit too easy for me. Second thing is, for my taste, operational support, let me show them, it's a bit overpowered. It gives you a lot of points for, I would say, not so much sacrifice, like what you need to sacrifice cannot be disrupted. Yeah, so it's not so difficult to get those points. Probably much easier than those when you need to attack those units. Of course, those victory points are a bit higher, 6,556, than those 3,443. However, this is much easier, and the difference in the points is not so huge. So this is just my observation that operational support cards are your ally in this game and make the accumulating of victory points much easier. So this is the second point. Third point, the last one, I sometimes felt the frustration from unsuccessful attempts. You know, you roll a die, you fail. You roll a die, you fail. You roll a die, you fail. So it's like a subjective, feeling that even the best plan, best preparation, and best investment might end up in a failure. Is it something specific to this game? Probably not. Is it something specific to the games where you roll a die in solitary games? Yes, I think so. So I'm always feeling this and just bringing this here. So would say those three things are something I wanted to mention. These are not huge things, but worth telling them. A bit too easy vanilla mode, of course with frustration from attempts which I failed, and with a bit overpowered operational support. Yep, so that's all for this section. Now let's go to the conclusion. Final verdict for Pavlov's House. And the conclusion is, this is a very good game, especially in this category of introductory solitary games. Definitely very nicely designed by David Thompson, with a cool strategic, tactical, operational dimensions. We have very good optional rules and variants like tactic cards, operational support, and also 2 and 3 player variant, with beautiful components, with very interesting history behind the game, with a constant feel of being besieged and under pressure. This all makes for a very great game. I would say a really great game in all those aspects, in all those dimensions, and something which can be a great introductory for you to the solitary war games. You can see the game has like 7-8 years now. Second part of the Valiant Defense series, which I also encourage you to check. Under this video, you will find a link to my comparison of various games in Valiant Defense series. You can check it there, and yeah, also check other titles like Castle Eater, fantastic history, like Soldiers in Postman uniforms, a brutal and tragic story, and also the Lanzerach Ridge. Soon we'll get another 5th installment. It will be the Guadalcanal campaign, and for this I also have link below with author who designed it, Vincent Cooper. So guys, that's all for today. Pavlov's House by Danversen Games, designed by David Thompson. A great game, a great solitary title, which will be great not only for the introduction but also for the seasoned players. I believe you will have a lot of fun, just as I did. Remember, this game has also the digital implementation, link below in description, which allows you play solitaire on your PC, on your on the Steam, for example. Really cool that they did it too. That's all for today, guys. Thank you very much for being with me. If you liked this material, please give thumbs up. If you like to see more content, do not hesitate and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for being with me.